Here's some questions to think about. Is there potentially a deficit in your capacity for attachment repair? So when there's been a rupture or a perceived rupture in your relationship, in your connection, what are some signs that you might have a potential deficit in your ability to repair? And I recognize I haven't really defined some of these terms yet. So do you notice when your partner first signals threat? So if I'm talking to my wife, first of all, am I looking at her? You'd be shocked, or maybe you wouldn't be shocked. How many couples in my office don't look at each other? They talk at each other, past each other, toward each other, but they don't actually talk to each other in such a way that they're in each other's gaze as they speak. This is a non-starter. This is not going to work, because if I'm speaking, I need to be watching my wife's face, because what's the goal in my speaking to my wife? What's the goal? For her to hear and understand, for me to get a message from me to her. So I need to be looking at her so I can see signs if I'm off, or she misunderstands, or I say something hurtful. So do you notice when your partner signals a threat? So if I'm talking to my wife and I'm talking, all of a sudden she goes like this. She does a slight, her eyebrows go down. Maybe the corners of her mouth go in a little bit, something like that. Maybe her head comes forward slightly. Just that little bit right there. If that happens, do I notice? Do I notice if she signals confusion? If she cocks her head? If she kind of narrows her eyes, but not in that threatened way, but like a one side of her mouth goes up, like her lip goes up, Do I notice confusion? Do you notice when your partner's not following you any longer? When they're checked out, you're still speaking, but they're not listening anymore. Do you notice that? That's one I ask couples in my office all the time. Is he or is she still listening to you? And they say, no. And then I ask, then why are you still talking? Do you know how to work with your partner to identify a rupture? Time out and say, hey, are we okay? Hey, are we good? Did I lose you? Are you still with me? Do you know that I'm still with you? Do you trust that I'm with you? Are you able to prioritize connection over conflict? This is a big one, right? If in a state of conflict, if attachment stuff is activated so that my frontal lobe is not functioning, if I keep trying to solve the conflict, I'm probably not going to get very far. This is why I'm always saying to people, we don't deal with conflict in order to connect. We connect in order to deal with conflict. We stop. We establish that we're okay. We establish safety between us first. And then we can return to issue X, if it's still even an issue. So, and then lastly, do you know how to repair attachment after rupture? Do you know how to do that? Do you know how to say, this is not getting either of us what we want? This is what matters most, you and me. I want to shelve this issue until we know that we're okay. This relationship matters most, whatever the words are that work for you and your partner.